Hi, Daron. I wanted to leave you some feedback on essay two. I think that there's some good stuff in this essay. I think that your criticisms are valid, and I think that you have some good points in here. I do think that this essay does need another round of revision, and and so I'd like to spend some time talking about that. But I think with revision, this could actually be a pretty good essay. Let's talk about formatting first. First off, don't forget to include your header in the right hand corner, and also you forgot to include your works cited page. You need to include that as well. So you very broadly talk about the context of what we've been doing in Unit 2. That's a good idea to do in this essay, but all these ideas are going to fall flat if you don't mention them directly, right? So I would mention the articles that are most pertinent to your argument here. So do little signal phrase here, such as John Guttoes against school, he looks at the following, right? Or argues that education should be this. Ann Partonan argues that education should be this, and her, right? So that would make this article that would make this paragraph far more effective. So you bring in your definition of education here. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But then you end this paragraph by talking about something different, which is a critique of grades. And I think that that's a fine thing to critique. However, in terms of the thesis statement, we're not really clear then if this paper is meant to be a definition paper, or if you're providing a critique on how we use grades in 21st century. Both of these topics could possibly go together, but just the way that you have these ideas arranged, it's a little difficult to tell what your thesis is. So make sure that you are ending your introductory paragraph with your thesis. You got a little bit of editing to do here too. I'm not sure what word this is supposed to be, so please make sure that you edit there. And I interpreted this to be your thesis, even though I think it could be in a better place. But you've got some grammatical issues here too. So if you read this sentence out loud, my personal definition of education is learning a skill you're going to use for the rest of your life and should be enjoyable. Hopefully you hear that the second half of this sentence sounds kind of awkward. And that is because of issue of parallelism, meaning that if you create words in a list, such as learning and enjoyable, the items on that list should all be the same, or the words should all be the same word type. So in other words, when you say learning, which is an ing verb, that means that the thing that should be on the other side of the and here should also be an ing verb. So you need to revise here because this is a grammatical issue. Also, since we're talking about revision and editing, make sure that you are editing for formal tone. You want to refer to children. I am going to quibble with you here. You need to be careful to not paint with broad strokes. So it's certainly the case that some teachers feel that letter grades are important. I am a teacher and I don't think letter grades are the most important thing. And it's certainly true that some students believe that letter grades are more important than the material. But it's illogical to say that all teachers and all students believe this. So you need to be careful because you're painting with broad strokes. And a lot of readers are going to say, well, that doesn't apply to me, or I can think of another person that does not apply to, and then the idea will fall flat. I also want you to think about organization. So you start talking about test scores, but then you walk away from that idea, and then you come back to it again later on here. Readers like information all grouped together in the paper. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to talk about test scores here and then again later on in the paper. So instead, what you want to do is any place that you talk about testing, you want to group all that together in the same section of the paper. So you've got some revising, some reorganizing to do. Also be certain to be fair to the sources that you're bringing into the paper. So what you're doing here is called cherry picking, and that means that you're just grabbing evidence and just tossing it into the paper. Remember when we talked about summaries in our previous unit, the first time you bring a source into the paper, you have to state the author's full name, you have to state the article title, and you have to summarize the overarching main idea. Once you do that, then you can begin bringing in the minor points, right? The lower points. So this doesn't quite capture everything that Gatto says, right? And note that we don't have his full name, nor do we have the article title. So you need to create a full signal phrase, and you did that for each of your authors here. So make sure that you indeed do that. So the one thing that I feel like you're missing here still is synthesis. So you created a summary of your main points, but what we don't have is, well, a synthesis of the sources. So you need to create something new. What is the ideal learning environment? What would this look like, right? So for learning to include skills and be enjoyable, what would that look like? How could we do that in a classroom? Who would lead, if anyone? What would students do, right? And you don't have the full 4 pages, so you could go ahead and get synthesis in there. All right, that's what I would focus on for revision. Like I said, I think that you have some good ideas here, but this could use another round of both revising and editing for lower order concerns as well. All right, thanks.